In Marvel Comics' Adventure into Fear number 19, writer Steve Gerber and artist Val Mayerick introduced Howard the Duck in 1973. Gerber wrote the character with existential themes whose central joke was that funny and intense are often indistinguishable. After the production of American Graffiti, George Lucas introduced the comics to co-writers Willard Huyck and Gloria Katz. Universal optioned the film rights due to having turned down opportunities to work with Lucas in the past. While they intended for the film to be animated, Lucas's contract required that he produce a live-action movie. Lucas spent his money to bring Howard to life, designing an animatronic suit that actor Ed Gale would wear. They cast Leah Thompson, Jeffrey Jones, and a relatively unknown Tim Robbins, with Chip Zien providing Howard's voice. Following a 5-month shoot and extensive post-production, Howard the Duck arrived in theaters in August of 1986. Mild-mannered Howard T. Duck is relaxing in his apartment on Duck World when a vortex abducts and drops him on Earth. He winds up in Cleveland, where thugs assault up-and-coming rock star Beverly, Leah Thompson, so Howard fends them off.
That's it. No more Mr. Nice Duck.
Beverly decides to let him crash at her place while they figure out how Howard arrived on Earth. She takes him to her scientist friend Phil, Tim Robbins, but Howard blows him off since he's just a janitor.
Howard, wait!
Haha, typical hairless ape.
After unsuccessfully trying to make it on his own, Howard goes back to Beverly and meets her band, Cherry Bomb. Later, Phil introduces Howard to Dr. Jennings, Jeffrey Jones, who explains that a laser spectroscope accidentally brought Howard to Earth. Unfortunately, the spectroscope brought down the Dark Overlord, which possesses Jennings and plans to bring down his fellow overlords.
If you can't take the heat, get out of that kitchen.
He kidnaps Beverly, so it's up to Howard and Phil to save the world.
Susie, better tell you now, or I can't swim!
Ever since its release, Howard the Duck has been called one of the worst movies of all time. People compare this to movies like Freddy Got Fingered, Plan 9 from Outer Space, and Manos, The Hands of Fate. Even though I believe it's nowhere near one of the worst movies ever, that doesn't mean it's a good movie. For instance, the film has very little humor, often relying on duck puns, corny one-liners, and tons of slapstick. Also, it seems confused on whether it wants to be for kids or older adults, constantly going back and forth. Acting-wise, everyone seems to be trying given the material, but people like Tim Robbins probably don't like people mentioning this.
Undoubtedly, one of Earth's greatest minds here.
The film introduces elements that would be more interesting than what were shown, such as the brief glimpses of Duck World. Even with these flaws, there are plenty of good qualities. For one, even if Howard isn't that appealing of a character, the costume and animatronics are impressive. Given that this came out in 1986, the amount of expressions they can get from the animatronic head are remarkable. Also, the prosthetics used to show Jennings' transformation into the Dark Overlord are effectively creepy, enhanced with optical effects. In addition, the stop motion used for the Dark Overlord towards the end is impressive, as expected from Phil Tippett. The music is surprisingly catchy, and credit should go to Leah Thompson and her bandmates for taking singing lessons. A common complaint is that it's too silly to take seriously and vice versa, but that might have been intentional. While not necessarily an underappreciated gem, this is a film worth reevaluating and giving a second chance. Overall, Howard the Duck is undoubtedly flawed, but it has some decent qualities that critics and audiences may have overlooked.
Oi.
Vey.